Hi guys, and welcome to the first chapter of Tales of the Void, and this is called Zero. Tales of the Void, my black and white journey in the land of the colored, and it's based on a personal biography. This is a real story based on real events, 100% real. But I'm doing a twist and I'm taking this and making it into a fictional story. So, welcome. What I want to say beforehand is that this project is a very interesting one. It's a multi-layered kind of piece, and I'm doing it for the past, I don't know, I've done it 20 years ago. I began and I just put it aside, and now with the flourish of artificial intelligence, it gave me the boost that I needed and the confidence that I can use the AI to support me, and it does. And actually, I've been using ChatGPT quite a lot to refocus my ideas, and now I'm using it less and less. So that is also something that I want to transmit out there, that the AI can activate parts of your brain and bring you into a creative mode, and you don't need all the time to update and to be a paid customer, because once it gets you in the right direction, you can be independent. And also generating images with Midjourney, I think it's the same. It kind of boosts up your creativity, and you get to a point where you can go either way anyhow. So that's that about the technology and the benefits. What else? The basic of a story is, as I've said, it's revolving around the personal experience I've had in this trip. So kind of have my spiritual eye open, my creative eye open. But the thing is, I just want to bring up some acknowledgements about the sources, and I will be brief. So what we have here is chakras. So we have Indian's chakras, from the basic root chakras, the violent, the death, and the kind of desire, lust, going upward into spirituality, into the third eye, and the mastery of the universe, you can say, compassion, love. So it's kind of this sort of transcendence from below. And I took it and mixed it with the book of Genesis. So the whole frame of the story is taking Adam and Eve, but not from the Garden of Eden, but they start in hell, and this is a man-made modern hell of day-to-day life, and we just like do this sort of journey through the vision world, through the soul world, for the imagination and dreaming world, up to the point where just it's utopia. They rescue everyone. So this kind of circular motion. And the first unit is actually just my kind of tale, as I've said, and I would soon start it. And I would also just give you out, hand out a bit of imagery from the next chapter, which is the Black Gold, which is my favorite, because even though it discusses coma and sort of near-death experience, it also celebrates life and really explore the metaphysical aspects of the creation. And most importantly, it explores in a high elaboration the paradoxical creation. And this is actually my gift to humanity, our fellow human beings, because a lot of mythological debate has been discussed about how we came into being and how the universe was created with a creator in the form of gods, some sort of personification of nature. or just science came and said, no, it was an explosion. But what I want to really do with this project is just bring this myth and bring it to the light and just say, come on, we don't know what happened. We can never understand what happened. It's bigger than us. We don't understand what's going on today. How can we take a look into something that ancient? And also about the eternal, but most important, about the paradoxical. So if all truths are true, then you have paradox. So if you can have the creator and an explosion at the same time on different dimensions, then you would have multi-layer of dimensions in which all possibilities are possible, and you can even deny that possibility. So you cannot understand paradox. It's too big, it's too large. So the way I'm creating in my novel the personal experience of the main character, he experiences firsthand the paradoxical creation. It means that while he is in a coma, he transcends a shamanic transformation to reconnect with his soul on earth while exploring a notion where creation is made out of a virus and creation is made of a female deity, and then creation is made of two energies, male and female, and then creation is just a dream, and creation is just a speck of dust that is exploding. So we have this like dream upon dream upon dream and self-realization and like forgiveness, and I think this is uncharted territory, I hope. And also I would like to say that studying the book of Genesis, there is a hidden concept inside, and I'm using the Tao Te Ching from the Eastern beliefs. And I don't know if you know the Old Testament enough, but for me as an Israeli, we study Bible from a very early age, and also I have to give some credit to my mother, Dr. Judith Oriane. Her latest book is the Obscure Bible, based on the Saint John Perse, is a French poet. So she kind of dripped some information about the Babylonians, Mesopotamian beliefs, and how they got imported into the Bible. And actually, until very recently, didn't, even though with all my research, which I haven't really consecrated a lot of time going into Bible studies and such, I didn't realize how big the Babylonians, Mesopotamians influence was on the Bible. I always thought, okay, we have the golem, and okay, we have some other stories imported, but I haven't realized that the actual story of creation was imported as well. So if I had more time, I would consecrate in just explaining that, but let's skip ahead. Let's get focused on my story. So what we're going to discuss today is Tales of the Void, my black and gold voyage in the land of the colored, and I'll bring it up with some imagery that I've created in Midjourney. Hopefully mostly would be in the right order, but there might be some shifts. So try to find out also the video for this podcast, not only listen to it, but you know what you can do. So okay, this young man named Adam is our protagonist, our main character, and he comes from a good family. He has a stable background, and he just decides to go on his trip, and he's actually a genius, but he's also very attracted to the spiritual world. So he's got his legs in both worlds. He has very strong mathematical foundation. He just finished his diploma at a very young age, and he comes from a good family that is providing, and you can say stability is his main route here. But he goes on this trip all alone with no friends. He goes for this trip of self-exploration because he really likes the Rainbow Gathering. He likes the concepts, but most of all, he's slightly codependent and very naive. He just goes into this world and he doesn't really knows or understand his part in it. So he's a bit worried, a bit excited going on into this trip. And well, yeah, he carries a backpack and he's going for this solo trip in Italy. He will start from Rome and go to Tuscany, north of Tuscany. I've said some. Mostly, I think Adam enjoys ice cream, and at each train station or bus station or whatever you can find, he just really enjoys it. That's a passion. But most times out there in nature, we'd cook rice on a campfire. So yeah, well, as you can see, the imagery is very varied from photorealistic to anime. And it's a trek, it's a solo trek. When I've done this trek, after 2 weeks, when I arrived at the port of Civitavecchia, I actually cut my hair. I had short dreadlocks, so I cut it. And but after doing some experimentation with my main character, I just left it. So throughout the whole journey, would have the long dreadlocks. So arriving at a lake, and just like, you know, he had to take cover from the rain, walking all alone in the woods. It's a long journey. And at the given point in this journey, after a month, arriving at Tuscany, young Adam just starts to get bored, I guess. So what he does, he plays a game with himself, and in the game, at nighttime, he's just seeking pleasure and smoking cigarettes and walking around town looking for ice cream and messing around with money all the time and just like looking for trouble, you can say, but really keeping it balanced, okay? And at daytime, he would sit around the campfire, focus, meditative, chewing his bowl of rice slowly. And so there's each time it would align with the sun. Once the sun goes up, it would become pure and good and calm. Once it starts to sink, it would get stressed and just like pleasure seek and stress seeking. So there's two kind of behaviors in this game. And this game was very spontaneous. I didn't think, or Adam didn't think of the consequences of or the rules. So everything would become as it went. The thing is, after I think 1.5, 2 days, the borders got mixed already, because he would sit in a meditation and start to smoke a cigarette, or he would go on a prowl in the town, in a nearby town, and he would play with kids, juggle with them and enjoy with them. So it's kind of mix between gradation between the black and white characters in Adam's soul. So this realization made him proceed and evolve into the next stage, where he thought, okay, let's make a performance out of it. And proceeding in the trip, he thought, okay, I would make 2 costumes. So one costume was white, obviously, from a white cloth sheet of white sheet cloth. So and it was made hand-sewn, like he would sit around the campfire and cut it and sew it by hand, made the outfit. And the black, he used just cheap welding glasses and black leather, fake leather straps, and so at this point he got to another medieval town in the north of Italy, pretty near its destination, and he's enrolled as an artist. Um, at that point, when the performance began, the idea was to manifest the transition from black to white inside one man and vice versa. But when he's doing this performance, he actually realizes something new, and that is that once he's the white character, he feels this sort of aura, so he can actually hang out his energy outwards, which is in his mind the energy is pure, and he could sing and just like bless people and pray and do some contact juggling and dance with the movement. But the thing is, it was like an area of separation between him and the audience. Like the audience, the passerbys were just intimidated by this energy. And when he was black, he would actually feel very connected to whatever's around, and people would pass through. There was no separation between him and the rest of the audience. So there was that. And what this realization made him feel, just to emphasize the point, he would fire juggle or play with chains, and people would just like really get close by, like there is no barrier or border. And this kind of feeling made me realize that I wouldn't say that evil is here, but I would definitely say that it felt like the good energy is an alien. Like people are afraid of it, they're suspicious of it, but they very much welcome the dark or the black energy, the stress energy is right here. So this whole kind of realization made me realize he wants to be an angel. He wants to do good, and that's the point where he just said, okay, I'm going to rename myself to be an angel. And that is how he came to the Rainbow Group. So he came and said, he didn't say, my name is Adam. He said, my name is Angel. Just plain Angel. And it's not because I'm better than anyone. It's just because I want to remind myself that I want to do good in this world. And dressed in white, so he just came to the camp and said, right, let's see this through. Let me volunteer. Let me be part of this thing. Let's build the camp. And I don't know if you know it, but the Rainbow Gathering Seed Camp is just 1 month prior to the full moon party. So it's a camp in evolution. So in the beginning, you just have a few tents, and you go to the main circle and you hold hands, and you sing songs in thanks, and you just have a bowl, and they fill it up with food, vegan food obviously, and you don't have to pay for it, but there is a ceremony called Magic Hat at the end. It's also a small performance where you say magic hat, come on everyone, it's a magic hat. And there's also the chorus, the more that I give, the more I have to give. It's the reason I live, it's what I'm living for. So this sort of kind of energy which they encourage you to give out your energy and receive energy in return, and it's kind of interesting. Most of all, in the Rainbow Group, we don't have any sort of segregation or rules. It's very problematic in the regard of like how do you control certain situations, but in all, we just say to people, come on, you're invited, and all is free, and just bring out your good energies. So this is kind of nice. So volunteering in the camp is actually a very complicated experience. I think I actually burned, or Adam burned both his hands while cooking for the camp. So it started, you just cook for 100 people, and then 1,000 people. During the full moon party at its peak, you get like 10,000 people, and you have to provide food for the whole camp. So yeah, accident happens. I think there was another accident where actually I used bird seeds, and it was not cooked, and it was like very crunchy. So I think like 100 people just like chew bird seed. It was a very fun experience. So and I'm in a camp volunteering, starting to build it up, and some other things like, yeah, finding love in the process. This guy is white, which is very similar to what I am. And the thing is, here is the dance with the kids while being black. So yeah, finding love in a camp, and just like being part of the rainbow camp. I think this image is really good. And at a given point, an Australian guy named Ben came up to me and said, we want to do a performance outside the camp. Would you like to orchestrate it? And the reason he approached Adam, or approached me, was because I was a central active player, and I will demonstrate how. Usually in the main circle fire, you would go and make announcements. So for example, we needed to move the equipment from the seed camp to the main fire, and it's I think it's 2.5 hours, but you had to hike up the mountain in the forest terrain. It was very difficult, and if you had to move equipment up, it would be problematic, to say the least. So we've done a few rounds of it by foot, but for the large equipment, you had to have 4-wheel drives. And I've approached the main camp a few times, just like volunteering and speaking it out. But I also orchestrated a sort of a speaker system. So I had some of my speaker guys in various languages, and we would just go after the magic hat ceremony and go around the camp and just announce in various languages. So I had this dynamic of having a voice inside the camp, and it was very interesting the way I organized it. So I took it up just to invite artists from the camp to do this sort of performance, but it was all very spontaneous, and we didn't have any place to crash. So we just was a small trickle of performers that came from the Rainbow Gathering just to this town, Pied de Pelago, and started to do this performance. And it was really like there was no real passion behind it, not even in my activities. We just looked for somewhere and we couldn't find a match. We didn't find a spot. We arrived at the place where we had this sort of like rock group band amateur thing, and we just like crashed there, but nothing really came out. It was just a hopeless night. So I came back to the camp, and I think the full moon party came at this part already, and the full moon party is something really unique for a rainbow camp, just like so people coming around, and it's the peak of the gathering. They have this sort of like, you can say it's similar a bit to Burning Man because they burn this huge wooden statue that they built, and yeah, and you have dancing and really powerful stuff. I think all these parts should still be black and white. I'm not sure, but anyhow, the full moon party is the way to celebrate, and I'm not sure I took part in the festivities as much as I may present it here, because I got my guy Adam really dancing and living out the moment inside the full moon party. But I think I was at that point pretty weak. Not sure how, but you just have to realize that living off the land and during rain, and you're just outside each day exposed to the weather, and you eat food and it's not always healthy. And also regarding the hygiene part, you have to actually explain to people they have to cut the fingernails because you don't want them to transmit disease into the food, and more importantly how to take care of your own necessities and not to shit upriver, for instance. And the more people you have in the rainbow gathering, the harder it is to educate. Like some of the guys arriving are straight from the city and they never been outside the city, and then disaster stroke. As I've said, like there's 2.5 hours between the camps, the seed camp and the boot camp, the main fire camp. So already at that, I think 2 days later after the full moon party, a guy came, I think his name was Julian, and he just passed out poisonous mushrooms. I don't think people that took those mushrooms at the seed camp knew they were poisonous, or it's called amorita something, a highly hallucinogenic mushroom, but it's poisonous. It's not something, it's not considered a drug because of the high volume of poison that this substance has. If you take it, and if you take a small amount dose of it, or just slightly more, and you're not attended, then I think there's a good possibility you just die from it. So people took this poisonous mushroom and they just thought it would be an experience, but overall they got poisoned by it. So we had, it was nighttime and it's complete darkness and you don't know what's going on. You just hear these sort of rumors of massive poisoning, and we were just unable to contain it at all, to say the least. So we just cried for help, and the Italian authorities sent out helicopters and they just rescued people in the night from the woods. And in a brink of a second, the whole camp, which had like this sort of festival, became, you can say, a refugee camp. There were lines for food, 2 lines of food, and you get helicopters and cops going on, snooping around with flashlights. And I remember a scene where a medic just flew out of a helicopter in a zip line, and he left a white glove on the lawn where and it all felt like out of control, completely out of control. And the day after, of course, I was kind of angry at the energies and what came out of the whole ordeal. I think I made my walk of, I leashed out, chains and all, in the camp. Then have my dark angel express itself, and then I just like thought, okay, let's time to move on. And actually, the quiet camp life is not that. It's not affected by anything. You can just like. Still, you'll get like singing chants and workshops, and it's not such a big deal. And I don't think even. I heard of a guy who was just like traveling for 2 days with his shirt without his shirt on, like lost in the woods. But I think most of the victims arrived at the hospital. And then I think the day after we had a media circus where just reporters came to the camp, and you understood, you could feel that the energy was low. And also my energy was low at that point. I was feeling very sick with myself. And then this guy, Ben, approached me another time and said, all right, let's do the festival one more time now. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And I really thought it was a good idea to cleanse this sort of dense atmosphere, poisonous atmosphere, and channel it. The thing is, I said, yeah, I would leave it, but at the day where it was supposed to start, I was just like completely sick and I couldn't bear myself, and I just returned to my camp. I said, okay, I'm not gonna do it. It's too much for me. I just went to my tent and shut myself off. And then I heard this voice at the back of my hand, and it said, why do you keep insisting seeing the world in black and white? You are in the land of the colored. And it was just too much. How it all just came to my face in that regard, that yeah, I'm playing this game of black and white, and I'm in a rainbow gathering. How absurd is that? So I just I felt this strong jolt of energy, and I came straight back to the main camp, and I came to the people, and I've used the same announcing method I've mentioned before, and I said, all right, let's do the colorful chakra show. And I just came straight at the people and said, okay, we will do the colorful chakra show, rainbow colorful chakra show. And I just got this sort of enthusiasm, and everyone was just went along. And we had this huge amount of performers coming down to the city in a large volume of numbers. I think we were around 50 or 60 performers. I'm just speaking out of memory, I'm not sure. And we went straight to the city hall. So we made this sort of spontaneous performance where a big group of people just holding hands, and the circle was inwards, and we were singing some of the rainbow songs. And then I've directed this whole performance. I would say, okay, give red color, let's give a red chakra. And we had tribal dancing and very belly dancing, African kind of rhythm. And then I would say, okay, now let's do capoeira and acrobatics. And then we would have a sort of different rhythm. And then we had some more vocals inside the performance. So we had each performer would be more of an individual. So we had this one circus guy who made a whole solo performance, and I had also done some performance. We had a performance with fire. We had a lot of stuff going on, and in the end we just made a circle, but this time the circle was directed outwards, and we sang to the people, to the spectators, and it all just felt harmonious. And I really understood something at that point, where I directed this spontaneous show from within as a performer, but more important as a director, and I felt just this energy, this whole energy being concluded, and I knew at that point where I've touched something and I would like to preserve it and study it. And you see me 20 years after just reliving it. So it was very powerful. And the whole town just gave us bread. They would roll in bread and gave us wine out of generosity, but it felt spontaneous and harmonious in the highest ways possible, and everybody was just having fun. It was a soiree. So the idea is, and I took this idea of this whole kind of transmission of the chakras, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do with it? And the black gold is the first piece, where Adam is actually after his voyage in the uh, after his journey in the rainbow, he has an accident, and it's not an accident by accident. It's something that happens deliberately, but we don't know yet what's going on. We will only get the info at the next part, which is Tribal Red. And actually, guys, you can listen to both parts, Black Gold and Tribal Red, on my channel here. So we have two additional parts. I think Black Gold is exquisite. It's very important to say that there are versions. So right now we are approaching 1.7 version, and I think pretty soon I would rework it to get to actual stable 9 pieces. So there will be also a podcast and also books. And this whole story of a Black Gold is actually of this man named Adam, which he passed an accident, and now you can say he's dead because he's in a coma, but he actually had brain death. So in this state of coma, he sort of meets the creator, you can say, or meets the source, or decides to have a sort of transcendence and be reborn inside his soul. And I'm actually still thinking about the whole Lilith implication, because initially I thought, okay, she was the one bringing him to this state, and the reason it's going to unfold is that he developed this sort of technology, this sort of spiritual technology, and he drew too much attention to himself by his own study. So as you can see, the imagery is very powerful. It's like the black gold kind of dimension, all while science fiction inside he's traveling space in his bed. So there's a lot of images of him sleeping and just flying around in space. And also the thing is, parts of his reality are crossing over to our reality. So you can say it's kind of like horror. I mean, this is a private government hospital, and it gets flooded and glass is shattering, and there are occasional fires. But inwardly it would just like travel time and space. And also there are a lot of places where he would navigate his hospital bed in space. So it's all just a game of reflections and soul searching until the point where he wakes up, and that's the end of the part. So we have this sort of like meeting with the paradoxes of creation, and yeah, that's the project. That's the story. I'm still working on the ins and outs. I think each part will be depicted differently. And yeah, guys, tell me what you think. Tell me if you understood any of it. I'm sure it's not clear. I'm sure it's too multi-layered. But once the graphical elements and the actual podcast you could listen to, and once it gets to a certain point where it be clear enough, I think you guys would love it. So I thank you all for listening, and I hope you also seen some of my images. And I bid you farewell, and to be continued. Bye now.